Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Bebop here. Today's video is going to be about the musket and my 40k musket shot that I hit in Savage M3. Well, we're going to get into the gear real quick. A couple people were asking me to make a gear video. It's very similar to what my other gear video was for the 39,800 musket shot, but there are some changes that will help you increase your damage. And actually, I believe up to 45k is possible. But there's going to be some things you would have to do in a really, honed in team that is there specifically for that purpose of getting to 45k. This week in Savage Divide, it is fire week, so I went with all rune glasses in the armor. I went with a sighted fire ward. Your ranged attacks deal 1% more damage, and you get 5% fire damage absorption. That times 5, and then with the amulet here, you're going to be at 51% fire. You're going to be over the cap by 1.4% fire protection, so you're going to be just fine. But I have Enchanted Ward, Omnidirectional Evade, and Refreshing because I will be using the Rapier. Well, just for really the bleed damage boost for the musket, because in the main part of the dungeon, I'm just going to be running the musket. Then when I get to boss fights, I will go to the Rapier only. Now, the Sandworm chest piece is such a good piece to run with this because it has Keen, okay? Now, there's no other way you can get Keen on your shirt other than the Sandworm shirt. So just X in recruitment, get a random lobby, go do the Sandworm a few times, and you might get this pretty quickly. It's really easy to get. They drop like candy. We have Enchanted Ward, Refreshing, and Leeching Flurry. We have Attuned Leather Pants. We have the Sandworm shoes here in medium. That way we get to the very tippy top here of the light weight for most protection. It's got Elemental Aversion, Enchanted Ward, Empowering Shooter Stance. Empowering Shooter Stance, very key for helping you get to the Empower cap. You're going to do, grants a stack of Empower, increasing damage 11% for 6 seconds. Effectives removed when stance is exited. Okay, I got the Rapier with Disdain Infliction. I have just a regular musket, okay? You don't have to have anything fancy or crazy. Now, the Sandworm musket comes with Vorpal, Vicious, and I put Refreshing Power Shot on there. Refreshing Power Shot is very key for getting that to cycle back for your last shot, which will be your biggest power shot. And that's going to help you to get the most damage. Disdain Infliction is really good. Potency of outgoing dots are increased 15%. Hitting a target with your dots will extend the duration of them by 5%. PvE only. Deal 5% base damage against hostile AIs inflicted with dots. So that's why it's better than Vicious. So I have ran the Sandworm illegal perk combo musket with the Vorpal, Vicious, and Refreshing Power Shot. It's going to be better if you can guarantee headshots. So like on the Mammoth where I hit that high, 40,000 and 39,000, very similar clips, but they're different. That would be where you would switch to your other musket and then you could use it there. And some of the other pools where you're behind or maybe, catty corner, then you want to go with something like this. Now, Attunement would be better than Keenly Jagged if you wanted to do that. So if you wanted to craft one Disdain Infliction, Refreshing Power Shot, Attunement, hey, more power to you. So I have Fire Ward here. Empower, you apply, last 35% longer, very key. That way, when you get ready to do your shots, you will see me drink my mana potion down here. And with my earring, I have Empower and Toast. So you will see the Empower symbol pop up. I do the kick also, which is the Stalworth right here. And it will give you empowerment also. And then with the ring, Ellie Band with Leeching on there. I will also have the gold boons here. If you're not familiar with this, I have a video on it, so feel free to check that out. While you're in Elysian Wilds and you drink this boon, if it's gold, it lasts 2 hours. And then when you go into a Spore Cloud, you get 4 minutes of 27% more damage to enemies in Elysian Wilds for the beast. So that will help you boost your damage dramatically. Now, there's no point to have these if you weren't part of the speedrun and school run M3 days, since M3s are completely dead. Most of those players don't play anymore. There's absolutely no reason to grind this. This is a very, very tough grind, a very long grind, and a very expensive grind, and not worth the time. Now, we use powerful honing stones, infuse coatings and warp pots, obviously, and that's basically it, okay? Now, I do have a second set for the bosses. You want to go all opals, but we do have fire dots on our back, so you want to make sure you have your flame Amion still, because that's going to help protect you, because every time you do an ability, you're going to get a fire dot. You get 3 of those, and it's going to take your health really fast. Now, let's go to the skill tree here. So for the Rapier, I was Evade Bleed. So let me go and show you the skill tree here real quick. Oops, wrong button. So I was spec'd out just like this. And that way you get when you have omnidirectional on your clothing and you go and do the evade, you get the empowerment right there. You flurry, build up 2 stacks, and you flourish and finish. Now, the musket, that's what we're here for. This is the skill tree I went with. The important thing is getting your power shot off first. This is going to give you empowerment, 10% for 5 seconds when you hit. Now your AMI is going to extend that by a few seconds, so make sure you have empowered on your AMI. You're going to follow up shots with the powder burn here. You're going to do extra damage, 8% extra damage to burning targets, but that's not really the important thing here. You want to go ahead, hit your power shot, then hit your burn, and have power shot ready to cycle back by your 5th shot. So empowering headshot on successful headshots gain empower, so you want to make sure you gain empower that way. Hitting a target with a debuff grants empower your damage by 5% for 5 seconds. That's important too. Increase the stamina damage from standard shots, enemies blocking with shields. Not really applied here. Increase armor penetration to targets that are not blocking with a shield by 10%. It's going to help give you that increased damage. 10% increased base damage to targets below 30%. This is key. When the enemies get below 30%, that is when you're going to do your power shot and your big damage. If you watch in the clip, you see me wait a second, not only for the headpiece to come back down because he was doing like a rotation spin and slamming, but it's also to make sure he was under that 30% because it was very borderline at 40 and 30%. This right here, heightened precision, this is where you're going to be able to flex and do a little bit more damage if you have a group dedicated and you can really practice this. Now, this will stack 2.5 base damage increase. The effect ends after 5 seconds passes between shots. Max 6 stacks. Now, in the clip, you saw me drink my mana pot, get my power, I do my kick, and then you see me in shooter stance leading off with power shot. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then your last one would be your power shot. Boom, 5, okay? Now, you would be at a stack of 4 empowerment doing that. All right, so here we are at the training grounds. I was going to go to Savage Divide, but I figured I'd come over here to the dummies. We're a little bit quieter, and you won't hear all the mammoths going crazy. But anyways, when I get to shooter stance and start busting shots, you will see the stacking damage multiplier down here. What are you doing? It's going to be in the video. All right, so here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this would be your power shot at the very end. Now, at the bottom, you do see that stacking of the 2.5 times 4. So if you want to increase your base damage, if you notice in the video, I took my mana pot, I did my kick, and immediately got down and started doing those shots. So I was only at the 4 multiplier before my final power shot. If you want to have that at 5 or maybe even 6, you could probably try practicing a shot beforehand. So you would practice a shot beforehand, you would immediately dodge, which is instant reload, then you can get down a shooter stance and at least be at that 5 stack, which is another 2.5 base damage increase. So what you could do, you can take your mana pot, you can do a shot, roll down, and then 4, and now I'm at a times 5, and then boom, hit with the power shot to the head. Can you get to the times 6 for that last shot being a times 6? I believe you can. Now, when you're doing the shots and you're with the group, the hard thing is it's not as simple as just having a boon and getting down a shooter stance and doing your stuff. You have to gauge the DPS of the squad, and you have to account for anybody that may go down during part of the named or mob phase. If they go down, the damage obviously will be slower to go down on the enemy. You want them to be under 30%, so you need to kind of gauge each pool and the timing of the DPS of the group. And it gets a little bit more complicated. So to add the, let's say shot, dodge shot, get down, and then 2, 3, 4. I'm at the times 6. This should be the power shot right there. To get that done with all the other stuff going on, it could be a bit much. But that will be how you could take it to 40,000 and beyond, okay? So it's definitely possible. We had a very limited amount of runs. Just like last time I was running Savage trying to get shots, we had 3 to 5 max runs for the week. Very hard to find groups, and very, very difficult to find groups that are going to curtail everything they do to try to get you a high shot. And that's not what happened in our Savage M3, because you want to have, somebody on Sword and Shield for the leadership. If the tank wants to go Great Sword and Hammer, which a lot of tanks do in Savage Divide, then you need to have a DPS with probably a spear offhand to go ahead and rend the enemy 30%. And then he can switch immediately to the Sword and Shield to rend another 15% with Whirling Blade, and then have the leadership empowerment, which is going to give you a 10% base damage increase based off leadership, or increasing their damage by 10%. And then you're going to have a hammer rend enemy, which will, or a hammer rend DPS, which will probably apply the rends. Because if the tank switches off to hammer, 9 out of 10 times in Savage, they're going to lose the aggro. Now, if you could set up a squad and have them go higher con or whatnot, so they're not doing as much damage, so the tank doesn't lose aggro, then you can maybe have the tank go and be the Ren bot for, you know, most tanks are set up to be a Ren bot with the hammer, Sundering Clear Out on the hammer, Sundering Shockwave on the clothing, and Armor Breaker. Okay, then you can have the other 2 DPS, 1 sword shield, and then 1 spear. You can have Sundering Stacks in the group also, you know, with the Spearmen, if they have that sort of spear, and you can really hone in and geek out and nerd out. Now, another big thing about the musket here is optimal range. Okay, this is key. You want to be within 20 meters and 40 meters. It used to be 20 and 50. Okay, musket shots deal 10% increased base damage to targets 20 meters or further away from the player. Also, 7.5 increased base damage to targets within 40 meters. So that's 17.5% increased base damage when you're in that range. You will get to know the range based upon, you know, just playing with the musket. You can come over here and ping, and your ping is going to show you how far you are. If I'm in this range right here, I will not be getting that bonus. Neither one of those bonuses. Got to be farther than 20 meters back. Boom. Now I will be getting that bonus. If I'm farther than 40, I will not be getting that bonus. But I'm in the 20 to 40, so that way I get my 17.5 increased base damage. So now I can bust a shot. I can bust a shot, immediately dodge, get in a shooter stance, start doing my rotation. Last shot here. I was hoping the power shot would cycle back, but it did not. Let's try that again. So don't forget to put a ping. If you go through the dungeon and you kill and you know certain mobs and you have a static group, tell them, hey, give me a second. I need to find out the range here. Let me ping this and get to the certain distance. That way, when you're in the dungeon, you can kind of know where you need to stand based on what's around to be at the certain distance on each pool. If you have a static group and the tank does certain pulls, you will then be able to go in each area and mark the ground, see how far you are. Make sure that is basically where the dummy is and not too far away, or the enemy, and make sure you get in that range, okay? We are 21 meters, so let me go ahead and bust a shot. Bust a shot, immediately dodge, get into the shooter stance. And there you go. That's how you would do it to get your 6 times 2.5 base damage multiplier. Now, to do all that with everything else going on, the timing of the enemies is crucial. If I was to do that during that pull, the enemy would have been dead before I could have got my last power shot off. So when I was streaming yesterday, if you go back and watch my stream, which is available on my Twitch, then you will see I keep saying you have to gauge the group damage. You have to gauge the pulls, where they're going to be, your distance. You have to get a rhythm of what all you need to do. I don't have time to sit here and go, okay, hold on, now let me dodge, and let me get into shooter stance, you know. Also, you want to have your mana pot drank, and that way you get your empower and kick. So we can try that again, and we can see how long I stay empowered. Now, I do have the Amy on here to extend the empowerment 35% longer. So we shall see how this goes. Now, if you want to start off with mana pot, kick, shot, immediately dodge, get into shooter stance. There you go. That's how you would do it to get your ultimate shot. You will just have to gauge that, and you know, if you got a team, like I said, that's not willing to not do so much DPS so you can get that done, that would be the way to do it. But trying to find people to do that, it's very difficult. Anyways, hopefully that explains the musket. Don't think I'm missing anything here. Obviously, you will have 10% more base damage to targets with an active crowd control status, slow, root, and stun. So make sure someone's applying those debuffs to the enemies. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Also, right here, grants 15% increased damage to all headshots. If multiple targets are hit with a single musket attack, which is 2 or more, not 3 or more like you would think multiple is. Next shot within 3 seconds inflicts bleed to all targets. It passes through, dealing 15% weapon damage every second for 5 seconds. So, good luck out there. Let me know how you do. If you get a group to be able to run that, you got the gold boon, and you can do all that stuff in there. Let me see how high you can get. I do believe up to 45 is probably possible.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
All right. Y'all have a good day. Thank you.